Welcome back, everybody, to the Voice of Coalition. You might notice I'm in a little bit of a different spot today for this episode. About 15 minutes ago, something that I'm sure that's happened to a lot of you, my computer decided that it was time to reboot and not turn back on. So thankfully, I was able to grab some secondary space down here in my woodworking shop, where I also have a small studio set up. So please excuse the factory-like appearance for this particular episode. We thought it was important that the show go on, so I'm here. I'm also with Chris Michelson, my co-host, and we're excited about today's conversation. We're cutting right to the bone for anybody who's marketing health and Medicare products. What to do when your brand gets hijacked online. A lot of us know the drill. You spend years building a reputable name, then a third-party affiliate or rogue advertiser slaps your logo on a non-compliant landing page, and all of a sudden, you're explaining yourself to a regulator or to a carrier partner. And our guest today has a lot of experience with this. She's been on the front lines of that fight for over a decade, actually almost 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. Gayla Huber, she's the president of IntegriShield. That's a Kansas City compliance and brand protection firm that she's led since 2015. Before IntegriShield, she spent years at Grag Advertising and built her career around what we all see and what we all know is the messy intersection of performance marketing and regulatory risk. In addition to being a member of the IMC, she's also one of the driving forces behind REACH, which is one of the industry's anti-robocall enforcement organizations. Eric Troutman calls her the KC Sheriff, and we figured we should book her onto the program before she tracks us all down. And none of us would, of course, be placed under arrest, but there are people out there that probably would incur her ire. Today, we're going to talk through where brand infringement is showing up in 2026, some of the patterns that regulators are watching for. And as always, we want to leave you with some practical moves that you can make to protect your name and resolve disputes without, having to, go overboard and spending on your legal budget. Welcome to the Voice of the Coalition.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Yeah, this is great. I've never done anything with YouTube before, so this is awesome.
Yeah. Chris, kick us off. I know you've got a lot of interest in this topic and some questions that you wanted to ask right away.
Dude, when you logged on, I saw it the background before, but when you logged on, I really almost lost it. And I'm like trying to think of some clever name beyond Professor Leeds, like Professor Woodworker, and it's just nothing's flowing. So
I'll take the accolades here, and I'll try not to be distracted and to go off and plane a board or something.
I was going to say, in the middle of the conversation, he's just going to be like, I need to go join something.
I'm going to pick up a saw. No. This is far too important. Like I said, apologies for the fact that the real computer upstairs has messed the bed. That's the best technical description I can give for it. So we're gonna just we're gonna do it with whatever tools we have available to us today, excluding these tools.
All right.
We're gonna use my tools.
There you go.
That's what we want to talk about. That's what we want to know more about, because this is a real problem. This is a real concern.
Let's start off
in business.
Easy.
Yeah.
Let's start off easy. So, Gayla, what prompted you to start IntegriShield? Like, was there one pivotal defining moment where you were like, wow, this is really crazy and I can get into helping make it better? I just feel like everybody who gets into something with compliance is like inherently trying to do something for the better good of all. And so was there a moment?
There was, and you could not go to college for this. We still can't hire for this hardly, even though it's getting a little bit better. Nobody ever comes into our company knowing what to do. You're typically either legal or something else, right? So no one really fits the marketing compliance role very well initially. Back in, I want to say it was about 2010, I remember being at home on a Saturday and I had to read regulations. So Obama had gotten into office. Everything was getting really strict out there. I had agency clients that I was like, these people don't know what they're doing. So like, we need to figure this out so nobody goes out of business, so that we don't get in trouble. So I was just turned myself into kind of the compliance person at the agency. And then we realized, hey, we could build this. And so we built it in 2012. And then I took over the company. I kept running on the agency side, but then I took over the company in 2015.
What is it, Ayla? I'm curious when you say IntegraShield, what is the it there? What does it do?
So IntegraShield is a very custom compliance solution. Our focus is finding content on the internet that either you want to know about, that you don't know about. Like our niche is really the unknown. Like we're the people known for the unknown marketing. We can certainly go out and do normal things that other people do, like, spidering websites and making disclosures are there. Kind of the basics, but with like cloaking and all the search arb stuff and everything that's kind of come out, I think we've kind of become like the people known for being able to find things that most people can't find. So we go out on the internet, no matter where it's at. We're in, I want to say, a little over 50 countries right now, because we work with like some bigger names that are global. And so we're in a lot of countries. We're going out, we're identifying everything from websites to ads, paid search. I mean, you name it. If it's on the internet, we're typically looking for it. And then once we identify it and run it against our clients' policies, it gets put into their portal and they kind of get to go look at that. And then most of our clients have us do remediation too, just because we have contacts all over the world. It's a little easier for us to get things taken down.
So if I was launching a brand today, is it mostly partners that I'm going to sign on, like affiliate partnerships, that I need to be worried about? Or is it competitors? Is this a good mixture of both? Like, what are some of the common issues that you're seeing out there now? And how has that transitioned from how it used to be?
So it used to be that there were certain verticals like finance that really were the ones that had the most fraud and like sort of scammers internationally, picking up company names, pretending to be them, things like that. But now, I mean, they'll pick up on any brand. I do know when a brand launches, it'll take usually a couple of months, up to 6 months, for fraud and scams to kind of really start picking them up a lot. But it doesn't take them too long, especially with AI out there. So they're pretty quick to be able to go out, copy a website. I mean, they do it all the time. So you copy websites. I mean, Costco is one of our clients, and that's public, so it's fine to share. I mean, I think we've taken, I don't know how many thousands of fake Costco things down in the last few months. So, I mean, it's just very, very common these days.
So Gayla, what's in it for the scammers? Are they just looking to intercept share on the backs of reputable brands? I mean, is it just harassment? Why would someone go through the time and effort to set up a cloned site and try to masquerade themselves as another brand? I guess I may be answering my own question, but I'm just curious what your experience has taught you.
Well, you have two kinds. So the kind that is worse for the consumer but better for the brand is the one where they're hijacking it because of the consumer. They want to get the consumer's information. They're either going to get, like, especially in the fintech space, they're going to get their bank account, their social security number, all that good stuff. So that's one reason. The other reason, which I think is almost worse, is that within an industry, a lot of the people posing as the brands are their competition or a particular brand's third parties that they did not allow to use their brand name. So I think that one's a little worse.
Okay. Got it. Understood it. So let's pivot a little bit to the space that we all work in here, which is the health insurance marketing space, the P&C marketing space specifically. We can even talk about the Medicare space. What are you seeing in that space? And, without naming names, how has harm been rendered, and how have you been able to, advise people to prevent it in the future or remediate the things that are taking place?
Yeah. So when a client comes to us, the first thing we do is we do a really big, broad look at what's out there. And if you don't want to hire somebody like me, that's fine. Nobody loves to spend money on compliance. But you can do it yourself. So you can go out there, you can look at, you need to definitely use a VPN. or something like that. So you can look in different markets because people definitely target different markets. But looking at to see kind of what's going on in paid search, to see if there's any sort of like trademark infringement going on, or anything that you don't know that your third parties are doing. Social media is a big one. The big issue in social media right now is the cloaking. And so I think Chris and I talked about maybe sharing like Facebook ad library today, just in case people don't know how to go and find ads in the ad library. But one of the issues there is that not everything is going to come back in the ad library, or at least you won't know where it lands because they might use like an fb.me link, so that you have to find it in the wild. So in those cases, I would advise people that if you have like a Facebook profile or an Instagram profile, go out and just start training your profile to be like a senior, like change your age, change your location, train your profile to sort of bring that content in. And that's a way you can do it without having to hire somebody like me. And so anyone can do this. It might take a little manpower, but anyone can do it if you just go out and attempt to look around.
All right. So when you say, so basically you do your investigation yourself using an incognito version of your browser or something like that. You go out and you do your own investigation as if you were a senior, and you just see what pops up. What happens if something does pop up? What do you do then? Let's assume that, like most agency owners and advertisers here, you don't have all the time in the world. You're already working from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. What can you do to get this taken away, to get it taken down?
So on social, it's pretty easy. You just report it to the platform. When it's paid search, you can go to the trouble of reporting it to like Microsoft or Google. It'll take Google a couple of weeks. Microsoft's usually within 24 hours. On websites, and I'm gonna come back around, by the way, because I'm making it sound really easy. They don't always do it. They're not always willing to play ball. And also, you don't always want to go this route. So this is the easy route. Just report it. Let them take it down. It might take a couple weeks on the Google side. Facebook has been more responsive lately, but they sometimes would take a couple weeks, or I guess I should say Meta, it's both platforms. TikTok is usually pretty responsive. If it is a website that's infringing on your name or a search result, at that point, if you know the owner of the website, I would reach out to them directly. That's the fastest way. If you don't know the owner of the website, then you could do like a DMCA takedown or a WIPO takedown if it's international. A lot of people are hosting their content in like Malaysia and places like that now that don't have like the same IP that we have in the United States. And so there's still ways to get it done. Like in Malaysia, you can go through the Malaysia courts. I actually enjoy those battles because at the end, when we win, my client gets the domain that was ripped off. So yeah, there's just different ways you can do it. But I would also say that like for our company, the most success that we've had is not reporting to the platforms you would think it is. It is actually identifying who owns the content and reaching out to them directly. And that has gotten us so much further. We get things taken down faster. We try to build positive relationships. They're less likely to put bad content up immediately. And so we'll get like, 30, 60 days from that person without bad content going back up. Like they're going to do it again, but it's a little more time in between. So I personally prefer talking to the people directly, but you could certainly do it with the platforms.
Interesting.
So in the world of insurance, right, that's kind of, it's our core focus as a group. What are the things that people need to be looking for, business owners, right? And think about it from all the different angles of who we serve here at IMC. We're working with carriers, we're working with FMOs, we're working with agencies, agents, right, regulators. How are the different groups in our space impacted by digital fraud or digital brand ripoff? I'm not sure how to word it.
Yeah, so the brand ripoff is one piece of it. I know when we were sort of planning for this, we talked about like in conjunction. They don't always just have to use your trademark. They can put your reputation at risk with just bad advertising. And so the brand piece to me is pretty cut and dry. I don't worry as much about that. I worry more about when we see ads like for a grocery card, or if you go out and just go to the ad library and type in like food card insurance, you're going to get these crazy ads out there. Those are, they're going to run the ads unless it's search arb, which then it could go anywhere. But if the ad is going to, like you have a pub and then it's going to someone else, looking at all those links in between, and it's going to end up with a carrier at some point. So they're the ones that care about that. So really anyone in the funnel really has to care about where the initial ads are placed, because that's what the carriers will end up hearing about at the end of the day if there's a problem.
Do you play any role in intermediating between the carriers and your clients? If, for example, there's an issue, can you be that third party that comes in and says, yes, we're aware, yes, we're working on it, yes, we're taking these steps? Is it seen as a good insurance policy? Like Chris mentioned, we're all in the insurance business. Is it seen as a good insurance policy to have a service like this, or at least a practice within your agency in order to confront things like this?
It is. I hate calling what we do an insurance policy, but I get it.
Oops.
No, just because ever since we started the company, I just have always we have worked with such good clients. I've only had to fire 2 clients for being naughty. And we are so lucky that we get to work with such good people that are in the space. And I know that margins can be slim. So I know, and I was at a digital agency, I ran affiliate, I did all of that. I get that we need to have the ROI on everything. So for us, we really take it to heart that if we are the intermediary, we are really trying to protect whoever we're serving, but at the same time, understanding that the people that they work with, the third parties, they're doing the best they can to kind of ride within that margin. And so we got to work with them. It's not always about take it down, right? Sometimes it's about let's learn how to tweak it so that it's not so far over the gray area. So we do definitely work as an intermediary. People could definitely use us as, insurance. But I think once people work with us, they know that it's a little different than that. We are really trying to keep everybody in business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I've spent a lot of time over the last few months talking with regulators and different regulator groups. There almost seems to be this feeling of fraud is so vast. It's such a general term, right? There's so many different ways to confuse consumers nowadays. There's so many different ways to hide what you're doing. There's so many different ways to blend, the crap in with the good. What would you say to our viewers? They own a brand, they own a business, they are their own brand, whatever, right? What do they need to be looking for to know that they're, what are the telltale warning signs that hey, somebody's impacting you negatively, or somebody's attacking your business, somebody is maliciously ripping off your brand, or whatever?
So a couple of ways. Okay, so if you're running in specific markets, I think just having placed budgets before that, if I have traffic being stolen and my name is being used, and I'm seeing a decline in particular markets, I would know to go look, right? Because somebody's doing something that's causing that decline. You're also going to have, most of the people in this industry have call centers. You're going to get complaints probably through the call center. I think it's really good to investigate the complaints, because those actually could lead you to see something where, and you're kind of smiling at that one, I think. But you can see kind of where things are coming from. And I know the consumers don't always give us the best information when it's a complaint, but kind of taking that. And then I'm constantly going out to regulator websites. We talk to regulators a lot too, and I'm kind of asking them, like, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? What have you heard from people? And then I'll go out and try to sort of see if there's a lot out there with what they said, because the other part of this is always be aware of what the regulators are looking at, because they may not be looking at what you care about at the moment. And so, but within a business, you should be able to tell if you've got an issue. Just because your ROI is going to decline, your conversions will go down.
Kayla, what are the regulators looking for right now? And if you could, keep it specific to the Medicare space, because this coalition started because we wanted to have a seat at the table to help inform sensible regulations that were going to protect the consumers in our space and also protect the viability of the businesses in this space that serve those customers. What are regulators focused in on right now?
So on the CMS side, there's a lot of nuance on advertising that people could go like to gray areas, but sort of some of the top things that like our clients are looking at right now are obviously, is there a disclosure? Like we need to have the disclosures. That's a pretty easy one to do. AI has got, so like everyone either loves and hates AI, right? I just saw Bernie Sanders do this AI thing yesterday online. Everyone's hating on AI in the government, but we all love it. But just disclose it. Good grief. Like if I was screen sharing with you, I pulled the funniest one of these 3 old ladies riding bumper cars, and it was a Medicare ad. So like make sure you're disclosing your AI, because that's an easy fix to not get in trouble. And then really the grocery, like anything for like food, grocery, anything like that, that's stuff that like needs to come down. And then we're seeing a lot of things where like, and I'm not the day-to-day person, so I get the numbers wrong, but I think it's like there are certain numbers that can be used in the ads that everyone will be okay with, but we tend to see a lot of things outside of that. And so we're always looking for those too. So those are probably like the 4 things that I'm like, those are really easy things to not do so that you like stay safe.
Gotcha.
I was laughing. I was laughing earlier just because what you said about listening to the customer in the call center. Listening to the customer is kind of like a big Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, right? Everything he built initially was like losing money to listen to your customers. So that's obviously a very profound words of wisdom there. And then I wanted to laugh again when you mentioned Bernie Sanders talking about AI, because I know when I think of Bernie Sanders and his 110-year-old self, I think to myself, Bernie Sanders, AI guru, for sure. So like,
it was so bad.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Oh,
I
gosh.
was surprised this AI person didn't tell him that he needs to make his questions shorter or something. It was really bad.
Has Bernie Sanders, in fact, ever used AI? That's I think the question that we all have right now, because I can't see him using email, much less a chatbot at this point.
Bernie Sanders is still using a carrier pigeon.
No, a private jet.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
The bird, yeah.
And we've now entered the politically charged section and segment of today's podcast, where we're going to go around the horn and talk about current events. That would actually make for a rather interesting topic. Maybe Chris, you and I can just do that on our own with different branding.
I think I'd lose a lot of followers.
so he might gain a whole lot too. So okay, so that's interesting. So let's just do a refresher then, because all of us are involved with AI at some level or another, right? There's some of us who are using it for generative purposes. There's some of us who are using it for agentic purposes, or building robots to do the work that normally maybe an intern or somebody else would do. What do the states and the government here in the United States require us to disclose when we're using AI? If we have an AI generated image or an AI generated video or AI generated copy, what do the rules say about what we need to be disclosing there?
So not all the rules are rules yet, right? There's a lot of states that are putting things in place. I always say like as long as you disclose it, you're pretty safe. Like we already know, like if you're an influencer, you have to disclose if you use AI. That's just one of their rules. And so like at a minimum disclosure using AI, I believe that it's the watermarks, right? So like California wants to do the watermarks. And so like that'll become the thing, right? If California wants to do it, everyone's going to do it. So at that point, you need to make sure that you have some way for consumers to like see like a watermark that it was made with AI. All of the AI platforms under that California rule, I believe, have to be able to tell a consumer if they put the image in, whether or not it was AI, or if it has the watermark. So yeah, I mean, I think it's all silly. Back to Bernie, he was talking about how like decision making with AI, and I do agree that we do need to be very careful, especially when we're talking about like subprime people who don't have access to services, making sure we're not making decisions with AI that would harm them. But they're kind of under the notion that because AI exists, now we're all collecting all this consumer data that we never collected before in the history of the universe. And I was like, I mean, we've been doing it forever. I mean, that it is the same. It's just a different tool. And yes, it's much easier to get more data points, right? The average person can do that now, but it's really not any different. It's just a new tool. So,
yeah, I find that fascinating, right? Because I think the lack of understanding of AI is causing it to become more of a boogeyman than it really should be. And people are ascribing all of these capabilities to it that just aren't real. And in fact, just people don't have an idea of what the current situation is, as you've just said. And I would like to applaud Chris for I can see this on my tiny little monitor, him having changed his profile picture to Bernie Sanders in his famous winter coat. We all appreciate that very much, Chris. It worked. It worked well enough, and because of that, you get to ask the next question, and let's make it a non-Bernie Sanders related question. Although I am enjoying this course of conversation.
Yeah, look, the fraud is so rampant now, right? And look, like we're building MedicareCompliance.com to help attack it in Medicare. I feel like the last few years have almost been defined by fraud in the world of ACA and Medicare in particular, right? What are you working with any other partners in the insurance world, Gayla, like in PNC or in life, right?
Yes.
Are they as impacted by this as the groups in health and life and I'm not hearing it as much as
yeah, they're not going to say it, but I will say that part of my business picked up at the same time. So we started working with carriers on that side in the last couple of years, a lot more. So yeah,
well, that's interesting.
People don't talk about it as much.
What are the carriers looking for what are the carriers directly looking for when they say, hey, help us find like what's happening? What are the things that are harming them? Because that'll trickle down, right? Like that'll trickle down to the agencies that are selling for them. And what are the chief concerns that these guys have?
It's just the worst stuff. Like I was talking about, like you can like nitpick and you can have a lot of rules, but at the end of the day, just follow the basic rules. Do your disclosures. Disclose AI. Try not to use crazy AI. Stop using check and cash images. Good grief.
Wait, stop using what? What kind of images? Like say that again.
Cash and check images. And
cash and check images. Got it.
Images and
Bernie standing there with $100
bills. I mean, just the things that have always not been okay. I mean, they can make new rules all they want, but at the end of the day, the rules for marketing, in my view, are all the same. They never change. It's like CMS, FTC, like whatever regulator you want to talk about, they'll make a new rule and you'll be like, well, that's weird because we already had to do that under this rule. So like, it's not really new. It's just truth in advertising. It's just, that's what it is.
It's funny to me that I asked that question pretty vaguely, right? Just to see where your head went. And the first thing you said was just checking your disclaimers. So is truly a large portion of like groups' problems their own fault? Like what percentage of like problems would you say are self-inflicted?
100%.
Oh wow, really? Wow.
I mean, just
maybe that was a stupid question.
People not it's just don't cross certain lines. And I don't know, like it just never ends. Again, we've been around literally since 2012. I have over 90% retention every year we've been in business. And there is no way that happens without like these people just continuing to do bad things. So
right.
like you just,
I guess when I said self-inflicted, sorry, I guess, yes, technically anyone doing fraud is actively choosing to do fraud. I just meant like from like the business perspective, right? Because in my opinion, you have groups that are like real business, especially in insurance, you have like real insurance business groups. And then you have people directly trying to impact the space negatively in order to make a dollar. And so I'm discarding that group, right? I'm discarding the group of people who are just trying to increase their conversions and lower their own costs to generate a lead or a call or whatever. Throw that out the window. The groups that are just trying to operate in this space, yeah, like they're being impacted by unwittingly buying stuff that they should know, right? To your point, they should know, but don't, or claim that they don't.
Well, they shouldn't know. So that's different. To me, there's like you said, let's throw out the fraud bucket. That's one thing. And I don't see deceptive marketing as fraud. It would have to be fraudulent advertising. Like it would have to be fraud in that it's like claims related that are not just like misleading. There, to me, there's like definitely a line there between fraud and just
what is your line? Tell me the difference in your the difference in your mind between deceptive advertising and fraud, because that's going to send us down a rabbit hole.
That's actually, I was like, that's going to be hard, but it's not claims. Making a claim where an actual reasonable consumer, and I'm going reasonable, not like the hot coffee lady at McDonald's and stuff. I'm talking about reasonable consumer would look at it and be like, if I purchase this product, I will get XYZ. So to me, like that's the line. Just don't do like even like the government looking type stuff. Like that's not necessarily fraud. That's or real bad. That's just stop doing that because nobody wants you to do that, and you're just gonna get everybody in trouble.
So your line in the sand. Your line in the sand is
claims.
On one side is fraud, and one side is deceptive advertising.
Yeah.
Fraud is sign up now and get XYZ. Or we're going to give you blah if you do. And deceptive advertising is like just indicating like somebody holding hundreds of dollars.
Like this might be government related.
Yeah, having a red, white, and blue like .govs, right? Okay, that's interesting.
I know. I don't know if anybody else draws the line there, but I mean, I'm in so many industries. Like I that is the number one thing that divides everything is claims.
Okay, so claims versus inference, I guess is what we would say.
That's a good way of putting it. That makes a lot of sense. It makes total sense. So you said that you've seen an increase in this activity in other industries. What's the most fraud ridden area that you work with right now?
Okay, so again, back to fraud.
Sorry. The broad bucket. I know. We just went over this.
Fraud bucket would be like e-commerce and financial, because fintech is always, there's so much fraud in fintech that it's like insane because they can get consumers' data that they want. So fintech always, e-commerce has like really, like they're really going hard in the e-commerce space. The other bucket on the lesser evil side, car insurance is like the worst right now.
So what's happening in the auto space? That's interesting. What's going on there?
The margins are really, really slim, as we all know, and everyone has gotten into it. And so some of the advertising has gotten a little out of control. And it's not so far, like there are some claim side ones of that where you can get like XYZ with a particular carrier or something like that. But Yeah, just a lot of deceptive advertising and really weird advertising. Things that are completely irrelevant that have nothing to do with auto insurance.
Yeah. It's
So.
Bernie Sanders AI friends. They're like, I've literally seen ads online where it's like horrible AI, but it's clearly AI. Like Cardi B standing in front of BMWs, like, doing her, I can't do it, the butter thing. Promising people enough money to put a down payment on a BMW if they switch their car insurance now. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
crazy stuff. So that's why I was asking, like, outside, like the health and life space have been obviously significantly impacted by fraud. That's why I was asking, like the P&C space, right? Auto, home, RV, boat. So it's interesting that, the auto space continues. There's so much digital marketing in auto. I would argue that the world of auto insurance was really the first sector of insurance to widely and mass adopt digital marketing as a primary source of revenue driving, right? Like
Right.
they really dove in, and there were huge networks built from it. There were a few core groups that linked up with every carrier and got them to agree, like, hey, look, this is a great medium for us. And to Kayla's point, it's been pretty up and down. Matt Conley asked a pretty interesting question, theoretical. Are groups really trying to impact the space negatively, or are they just lazy and choosing the easiest path to get a consumer to click?
That's a great question.
Both.
I was going to say, you could probably argue both cases there, right? Because like you are inherently negatively impacting if that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. There are people that I know how he's phrasing that, because, when you think about it, like no one's trying to negatively impact the space enough to like get rid of the space because they're making a lot of money from the space, but they're coming in on the heels of all these great actors and like just dirtying up all the water. And then, the other side, I don't think they're lazy either. I mean, I'm telling you, there are ads now that you cannot find unless it's in the wild. Like also like Newsbreak, Taboola. I mean, think of all the places like you can find ads these days, besides social and platforms and all of that. So, yeah.
So, and Chris and I have talked about this a lot. So one of the things you're laying out here when you're talking about the Medicare Advantage space, the ACA space, the car insurance space with rates going up as much as they are, the really gross thing about all of this, and even in the fintech space, where you may have retirees and other people who are less technologically savvy, the gross thing about this is that they're taking advantage of very vulnerable populations when they do this kind of thing. Yes. And so there is this business risk, but I think there's also this, call it a moral duty, to be aware of these things and to try to mitigate them and call them out whenever we can. Which leads me to another question in terms of responsibility, because these bad acts, whether you call them fraud or deception or whatever we want to call, I mean, I'm looking at a comment here from Sean, and by the way, if you see me looking down here, it's because all the comments are down here on this second screen. My insurance agency's brand was used by international scammers once upon a time, and I ended up paying a $10,000 administrative fee in Florida that we had no control over. Are there now tools to stop that? And I'll ask Gayla that question. Are there tools now to stop that? I know there's tools to detect that.
Tools to detect it, and you can get it. What was the 10,000 for?
Well, Sean, follow up with that information. But who's also liable? Does he have any cause? I mean, obviously, as cause, does he have any remedial pathway to go and say, you cost me $10,000, now I'm going to take it out of your hide? And if you identify who did this, international makes it more complicated. But do you have any success stories or about how people have successfully gone back and said, you've injured my business, and therefore I'm going to get compensation because of that injury?
Are there scammers watching this? Because that'll change my answer. It's not worth it to go. It's not worth it because, I mean, you paid $10,000. Sean never paid $10,000 again. That's crazy.
Well, the first offer was to suspend his license for 3 years.
But if it wasn't you, I would need more information, but if you can prove that it's not you, I can't imagine they would suspend. Yeah, like you would need to prove that it wasn't you. But when that happens, one, it should never cost a lot of money to do a takedown. Good grief. But then you should have all the documentation, right, of that takedown. And so you would be able to prove either through the host or the registrar, like with the DMCA takedowns, the WIPO takedowns, or if you're going through like a court in Malaysia. But at the end of the day, the most like a client of mine would have to pay even to do something overseas, like in a court, is like $1,500 for one instance. And so you would collect all that information and then be able to hand that over to be like, that was not me. Now, if you were paying a third party and that third party did that, that would be different. Even if you like didn't know about it, but there was money exchange, like that's not going to save you. Yeah, I still can't get over that $10,000. Good grief. But yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's much easier to detect and take down today.
Well, yeah, and things certainly may have changed. I have one last question before we break, and that is, in a situation like Sean's or anybody else who may find themselves in a situation where this has inflicted injury on their business, are the departments of insurance, is there a presumption of guilt or innocence when something like this comes up? Do you have to, you used a phrase a moment ago, prove that you didn't do it? I mean, that's not the American
presumption of guilt.
I mean, but what is, how is that just, is that the practical answer or is that the truth? If you're accused of something like this, is it that you have to prove you didn't do it? Because that's pretty fundamentally un-American, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, that's pretty fundamentally un-American.
Just but plaintiff's attorneys, like you get a letter in the mail, like you got to prove you didn't do it or else, hey, you're going to have to settle or court. So there's always that presumption of guilt, I think, in the world today. But that's what that is what your compliance is. So like being able to say, I found this scammer using my name. Here's the website. Here's the screenshots. This is the date it was found. Here are the communications with like the host or the registrar. Here are all my attempts to like get this taken down. Like, I think that goes a long way to show that like, that was not me.
Right.
Yes, Sean, that is how states make money. And they want to just throw it at people and they just want people to like deal with it and go away. And so you'd have to be willing to fight it. But back to the whole, like 10,000 was way too much, but also not worth it to go back after somebody because you're going to spend more money than that.
Interesting. Well, Gayla, this was outstanding. Thanks for taking the time to explain all of our questions and laying out some practical steps that we can take on our own to protect ourselves. And if we do find ourselves a victim of one of these brand kidnappings, to help take care of it. And by the way, if you're interested in learning more about IntegraShield, you can find them at IntegraShield.com. They've got some exciting stuff that's coming up. And I think it's worth keeping an eye on the products that they'll be launching this year. So that's it for this episode of The Voice of the Coalition, live from the factory floor. Chris and I will be back in our normal environment soon with another conversation that's built to help insurance marketers stay compliant and stay competitive and also stay out of trouble. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.